It was a cold one against Huesca, and I don't know about you, but when I played, I actually enjoyed playing in the cold weather as long as I had warmed up and stretched properly and didn't feel like my muscles were going to get me into any bit of trouble. I did enjoy playing in the cold weather. I don't know what it was. It just felt like the game moved a little bit slower, and maybe it was because everyone else felt a little more sluggish with tight muscles. But for Barcelona, that's exactly the kind of game this was. It was sluggish, it was slow, and Barcelona, from Ronald Koeman, coming out in a 4-2-3-1, no Griezmann, Dembélé on the left, Messi on the right, Busquets and De Jong the double pivot, and Pedri in front of them. And it was interesting to see for Huesca on the other side, Sergio Gomez, former La Masia player, best known for his partnerships for club and country with Álvaro Ruiz and Mateo Morin. And since signing with Borussia Dortmund, he's been unable to break through with that German team, so often out on loan is Sergio Gomez. So, as I said, I'm always interested to see a former La Masia player against his former side. Now, Huesca may be bottom of the Liga table, but to their credit, they've been willing to play open football, and some of their players, like Ontiveros, have much better advanced metrics to credit his performances than the eye test might tell you. And the results for Huesca tell you as well. But even on the road, Huesca is not a side that Barcelona should drop points to, and you could tell that Koeman was willing to do what he's done against bottom feeder teams this season, and that's pushed De Jong much farther forward when he does pair with Busquets. So it really is not a 4-2-3-1, but more of a 4-3-3. But even then, you can throw out that formation because Messi doesn't really have a position when they're able to have the ball so much, 70% possession in the game, and Messi's position being so fluid, I guess you could call it a 4-3-3, certainly with Busquets as a deep-lying holding midfielder, and De Jong, you can't really call him a defensive midfielder in this setup because of how often he is making those runs into the opposition box. First 10 minutes of the match, there was chance after chance with crosses from the left sprinkled across the goal mouth, including a chance for Pedri. You early on saw what a healthy Dembélé does to this squad because we have not seen width in this team since both Dembélé and Fati went down a few weeks ago. Now, when Huesca did begin to dig in, which they hadn't done for the first 10 minutes or so, there needed to be more runs off of Braithwaite, but also his inability to hold the ball up for any amount of time made Barca's attack feel quite plodding, and Huesca, for as deep as they were dropping, they still had outlets out in advantageous positions for Barca to try to get in behind, and the crosses just weren't good enough. But as I said, there were attempts across the goal mouth, but if Braithwaite was a bit more of a finisher, he was doing his job to occupy the center back, sure, but if he was a bit more of a finisher and putting himself in the exact spaces you needed to be, or if there was another winger on the right side instead of Messi, who was always dropping deep, but if you actually had two wingers, and let's say a Messi in the middle, then you may have had more of those far post runs that Pedri was at times trying, but at other times he was helping with build-up, so there really was no consistency as to the bodies that were going to be in the box for you. 19th minute, Dembélé's moment of the match, runs past four players that eventually leads to a shot that he ricochets out for a corner kick. But once again, Dembélé showing you and reminding culés what it looks like and how he changes matches with his versatility, his speed, and his ability to play with both feet. Yes, he did have some errant passes, but the fact is when the game runs through Dembélé on that left wing like it was in this match, there are a lot of opportunities for him to make mistakes, and don't forget all the good things he does do when you're thinking about those mistakes. 21st minute, more creation for Barcelona down the left, but a Pedri header misses, and people getting on him about this, but it was high. He is only, 5'6", 5'7" at best, so those are going to come. I'm not worried about the finishing of an 18-year-old like Pedri, who does all the other things he does so well just yet. There is something to say about the finishing for Barcelona, like we've been talking about all season, that has coincided with Luis Suarez scoring 9 goals for Atletico Madrid and leading them to victory once again prior to this Barca match. But that's a rant, and that's a conversation that I'd much prefer to have with Frances, so we're going to save that for the podcast this week. I know, disappointing, but we carry on because I do have a goal to talk about it, and it is the Frenkie de Jong goal, the first of the game for Barcelona, and the only goal of the game. For all the possession that Barca had, this one kind of did start from nothing. From the center backs, Lenglet gives it to Messi, just about a 20-yard pass, breaking that first line of defense with the two attackers for Huesca. And Messi, who Huesca were allowing to turn with the ball, but then closing down the space on him. And we do see that, where there are teams that try to make sure they crowd him out and forcing him to go horizontally. And then there are other teams like Huesca who actually allow Messi to see what's in front of him, but they try their best to close down those angles once they see his options. This time, though, Messi takes advantage of the options that were given because he delivers, as Ray Hudson says, a magisterial assist to De Jong, a wonderful ball. And we have talked about how De Jong only has one assist to Messi, but I guess that combo does work better in the inverse. De Jong still had a bit to do with this finish. He had two right on his back. Is one he had to catch out of the air and guide just perfectly into that corner pocket of Alvaro Fernandez's goal, and he did just that. So De Jong, class to him for that finish as well, and Messi, wonderful dime from him. I've also been critical of Braithwaite already in this review, but he was doing his job occupying the center backs, allowing De Jong to make that run from deep. De Jong started that run about 25 yards out, and then Messi timing it perfectly as if they were on the training pitch. With that goal, Messi did seem to clock into the game, almost like one of those old punch machines when you start your shift. And it is always incredible because Messi still getting up to it in his 500th La Liga match, and I hope plenty still more left in the tank for Messi. 41st minute, Alvaro Fernandez, a name we should mention because we always seem to mention the opposition goalkeeper for any match that Barcelona play. A wonderful save from Fernandez on Messi's free kick attempt. Messi getting it on goal up and around the 5-man wall. Hasn't scored a free kick in quite some time now, but this time no fault of Messi's. He does get it on frame. Should have gone in the net, but it is a great save from an upcoming keeper in La Liga in Alvaro Fernandez. Second half, 49th minute, no real changes to note from Koeman at all. Positionally, everyone's kind of in the same spots. Huesca, no change in what they're doing, and they even mentioned on the beIN Sports broadcast that Huesca were actually pretty happy with the job they had done in that first half, and they were going to continue to trust their game plan and believe that they were going to get some chances, and they did. 49th minute, though, as always, the best and worst of Dembele. Speed gets him separation, but the first touch lets him down. And then Huesca, after that moment, really did find the game in the second half, finding more space on the counterattack off Barca's set pieces, the downside of having De Jong push into the opponent's box. And Busquets can easily be slipped by, and it's off to the races. Busquets, I wanted him to have a really good match here because these are the matches where he has excelled this season, where Barcelona are controlling the pace of the game. They get their first goal, and they should have been able to get that second goal. Finishing let them down. That's not Busquets' fault. And as Huesca found their confidence, Busquets winds up getting on the bad end of it on those counterattacks. And those are those moments that I know he's a club legend, and I know after he makes a mistake, that's not a good enough reason to be pulled. But that's a moment where Koeman says, this game is shifting, this game is changing, and Busquets probably should have come out a little bit earlier. And with Huesca's pressure, they almost got their goal off a corner kick. Rafa Mir, an attempt, terrific save from Ter Stegen. I do think he saw it, and that's why he was able to get down to it. 65th minute, though, when Huesca made the first sub, I thought, as I said, that Koeman should have made one too. Yet, he didn't. So 3 more Huesca subs come in with 20 minutes remaining. That's now 4 on the field for them. Barca in the cold weather, still hanging on to the same 11 that started the match, surviving the last 20 minutes against the bottom of the table team. Koeman subs haven't changed games this season. Francesca and I have been debating it all year long. So why would Pjanic and Mingueza be any different coming on in the 75th minute? I thought it was the right choices though. Pjanic for Busquets, again, should have happened earlier in my opinion. And Mingueza for Dest. People again saying a lackluster performance from Dest. And to me, I think he needs a rest. And I wouldn't be too upset if Mingueza does start at right back, even against Athletic Club, and you give Dest a full rest. Because I bet you that he comes back even more refreshed. We saw with Fati last year. We saw with Pedri about 2 months ago. When you play these teenagers 90 minutes, it's the most they've ever played in their lives. And even off the field, they're still learning how to be professional football players. So rest, recovery, eating right, all those things, they're also learning as they're getting a football education on the field. So I just want people to understand what's happening on the field and off the field for a player like Dest. And plus, Mingueza has played a bunch of right back for Barca B, so that's not really unnatural for him. But yes, obviously it would be helpful if Barcelona had a right back at a much higher level at that position, say a Sergio Roberto, if he was healthy. This change from Pjanic coming on for Busquets also made it a real double pivot with Pjanic and De Jong playing parallel to one another. 81st minute, final sub for Barcelona. Griezmann comes in for Braithwaite. With Griezmann, he had 9 minutes to affect the game, and at that point, Barca, the whole team, were willing just to hold on to this result. So Griezmann, I don't know what he could have possibly done in the final 10 minutes of that match to really make an impact, because Barca weren't really going for that final result. They wanted to hang on to the 1-0 3 points. So as I said, even about Griezmann's performance, it's the same story for Barcelona. Not much to say here. Barca holding on against an opponent they should have put away, and it always felt like Huesca were closer to the equalizer than Barca were to their second goal. That's what's so disappointing about this kind of result. Even though they get the 3 points, now they move in the table back up to 5th, so still in striking distance. Real Madrid only a few points ahead as well. For all their good results and the fanfare about them potentially catching Atletico Madrid, Barca are still in this La Liga title race, which tells you all you need to know about the depth of La Liga this season, that it is helter-skelter and the Giants have been able to be toppled. So Barcelona, the Giant, able to hang on. For me, the man of the match was Ter Stegen, but I could also have you argue Messi, De Jong, Dembele, maybe not Dembele, but Messi or De Jong certainly could have been argued as the man of the match here. Messi maybe for the assist, but also not a bad game for him, creating plenty of chances, key passes, and doing what Messi normally does. And then De Jong with the finish. I also thought he was pretty good in this match, all things considered. But most importantly, Barca get the 3 points, so we move on to the next one. It's already just a few days away, midweek, against Athletic Club, who've got a new manager. Even though they won this weekend, they've got a new manager in Marcelino, former Valencia manager, most recently taking over for Garitano, who lost his job after a victory. Athletic Club, as the third team in the Liga to have never been relegated, you know they're a team that's always going to give something, so Barcelona are going to have to gear up mentally and physically for the one on Wednesday. So until then, as always, Forza Barca.